Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, DevOps engineer Justin Dennison, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I am Peter, and today we've got a great show. We've got a lot of security-focused stuff off the bat, and then a lot of great news to get to. And we have a guest that's going to help us with most of that. What's going on over there, Daniel?
I'm just crazy.
Okay, Daniel's already lost.
So I noticed something. It took me a while to notice something in the intro.
What's that?
The two redheaded guys are in ridiculous poses, and these two characters are in
Like
serious
normal
poses.
people.
They're like,
I said I'm taking a picture, and that's the pose you chose.
no, I got a lot more pictures of me than that.
Okay, well, maybe it's the one I chose. I don't know.
I've seen
I
some
can't
of them
remember.
on the Department of Justice website.
Yeah. I'm always a criminal in
Anytime
here.
I go to the post office.
Also, I got to tell y'all something. I'm joking. I
Okay,
don't.
good. All right. Well, that gave me more time to practice our guest's name. So we are. Okay, it's going to be tough here. All right, we are joined today by the Chief Product Officer at ThreatX. It's Chris Brazdziunas. Did I
Hey
nail
there,
it?
guys.
Was that good?
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh man, a whole week of practice, and I did it. Chris, thank you so much. And you're joining us from Colorado, we said?
Yeah, just outside of Boulder, Louisville, Colorado.
Oh, God's country.
It is.
Absolutely.
I haven't been there.
Oh,
I read that though.
I
so
was trying to figure out where you were going with that.
take some vacation time ASAP and
Go
go
there.
because right now is like a perfect time.
Well, the summer is great there too because it's not too hot.
There's never not a perfect time.
Yeah.
There, unless you're in a
So
horrible blizzard.
I
And
have-
that's probably.
I have never been to Colorado.
Wow.
Ever.
We
Y'all
fix
got
that.
to like take a road trip.
Closest he got was
Don,
West
you've
Virginia.
been there, right?
No,
Yeah.
I've been closer to that. I've been in Illinois.
Don's a
bro.
real human. He's been there.
And I thought it was a good state, but now that I know Justin's never been there, it's like a great state.
The best state ever. Yeah.
Boo.
All right. Well, let's jump in with our rapid fire questions for our guest.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right. If you haven't already figured out, I'm the simpleton on the team here from the marketing department. So I read a lot of buzzwords on your website, but help me out in understanding where ThreatX fits on the security landscape.
Yeah, sure. So, thanks for having me over here. And let me talk about the market backdrop that's going on. So as you guys know, there are hundreds of millions of active websites deployed today in a variety of ways, whether it's on cloud, on-prem, or in hybrid configurations. And, there's a couple of interesting statistics about security protection of these websites. The first one, it actually comes from Gartner in 2019, which is last year. And that is a pretty small percentage of enterprise websites are actually protected from security attacks, less than 20%. So there's a second data point that's also worth noting. And that comes from a group called the Poneman Group. And I'm not sure if you guys have heard of them, but they do a lot of market studies. And this comes from 2019, also last year. And what they said is of those enterprise websites that have protection deployed, over 50% have been compromised, at least in some manner. So, why is that? Well, from my perspective, protection hasn't been easy with the security tools that have been in the market for the last decade, like web application firewalls or WAAPs. So some of those pain points that I've heard from customers and enterprises is, first of all, an inappropriate high false positive rate that often results in legitimate traffic being blocked, potentially impacting revenue generating business. And so what does this do to the enterprise? Well, they'll look at, hey, maybe I need to tune down my WAF and just make it a minimalistic WAF and checkbox the compliance thing that I think I need. That is why I deployed this WAF in the first place. The other reason is when they do have an issue, they find that the WAF tool is more like a black box that offers little visibility and insight for activities such as incident investigation and trying to figure out why did I get that false positive. Another reason is deployments can take many days, if not weeks, for tuning and baselining. And last, daily operational activities for configuration and tuning and other things like that is pretty costly. So those are some of the pain points that have been going on over the last 5 to 10 years. But there's also some market trends that are changing the needs in this space. And you guys, look, I know you're all familiar with them. The first one is the speed of development and applications just, updating more frequently because of the increasing use of agile practices, right? And growing and the growing amount of adoption of automated DevOps. Now you see applications that used to, update once a month or even less frequently than that are now going to weeks and days. The other interesting market trend that's fairly recent is that security personnel continue to be in short supply. Again, we've heard that over and over again. But this shortage is amplified for application security. And what does that do? Enterprises that want to prioritize AppSec projects simply can't because they don't have anybody to do them. So that is where ThreatX comes in. And so we are born in the cloud as a SaaS solution, protecting modern web applications and APIs from cyber attack. And we do it differently, okay? Our solution is based on behavioral profiling of user sessions to determine what is benign, what is malicious, what is suspicious, and what later on may not be. Legacy approaches are typically signature-based or looking at singular behavioral approaches. We also couple that with collective customer threat intelligence as well as advanced analytics there to provide for our customers precise protection, low false positives, which we can prove, and complete threat visibility. And we do protect all attack types, whether it's the OWASP top 10, advanced bot attacks. So it might be credential stuffing, carding, brute force attacks and scraping, and others. We also support application level DDoS as well as volumetric DDoS. What we're trying to do is be complete. And last here overall, we have a commitment to our customers through partnership that their sites are protected all the time. That's 24/7, 365 days of the year.
So I know we've seen a big uptick in web application firewalls over the last year, really over the last couple of years, because there's so many different applications that get deployed, especially you see things like WordPress and off-the-shelf things that we just can't necessarily trust the security on. We don't have full visibility of the code, or we're developing in weird languages that aren't necessarily supported by other providers. So having that intermediary, that WAAP is a big deal. It is important to catch that stuff in transit, but it's getting to be a bit of a busy field, right? So what differentiates ThreatX from some of the other WAPs that are out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that goes back to the behavioral approach that we take. So what we're trying to do is make a solution that's easy for customers to deploy. It's easy to tune. And the way we do this is by monitoring for independent behaviors that a user session is doing. Many of them, guys, are not malicious. They're interesting. So someone might be doing a directory traversal. Does that make the determination of blocking? The answer is no. But it is an interesting data point. If that intensity increases and couple that with the fact that, hey, this thing came from a Tor anonymizer, maybe we do block that session for a while. And what our solution will do is adapt to what they see from a behavior perspective, collectively from a user perspective, calculate risk and make a determination whether to block or unblock. Okay, and we do that all dynamically. And so it's because of the fact that we are looking for behaviors, not just signatures and requests, that make our solution different. And that's one of the ways in terms of how we achieve a near zero false positive rate.
Now, I know there's solutions like Amazon's WAF, right? That I can, if I'm an AWS shop, I'm all in the cloud, I can whip up AWS WAF with a couple of checkboxes, and it effectively gives you no rules, right? So then you have to write all these custom rules to be able to manage it. So I know, like, full control is an option that's out there. And then there's other people who say, hey, this is easy button, just redirect your DNS, now you got a WAF, and that's it, and you never see the rules at all. So that's like no control. Were those solutions so bad that you guys looked at it and said, there's no way we can fix that, we just have to start our own company? Or is there a place for that where like some of the existing WAFs could be improved and made where they're able to be adaptive like yours?
Yeah, so our founders actually were previously in the IT industry. Our CEO, he was a head of security for a major enterprise, and he literally tried to deploy pretty much name your WAF company over the last, starting in around, early 2012, 2013, 2014. And what he found is that he tried to deploy the WAF in the quote best practices that the company had. And then he hired this penetration tester, who's our second founder, Andrew Usetskas. And he's actually a Lithuanian and someone who's been a penetration tester for 20 years. And he found that he could easily penetrate any of these WAFs. And so the point is that, you know, the WAFs that are out there today are really good at certain things. All right. I'm not going to say they're bad. They're really good at some of the OWASP top 10, right? Injection-based attacks. You can look at a request and make a pretty good determination whether it's bad or good. Cross-site scripting is a similar one. But let's go beyond those type of attacks. That's when the situation is, you know, pretty grim for those types of technologies.
Well, I think you'll be able to help us a lot with today's news stories because we have some ones that are, I think, right up your alley. So let's go ahead and jump into our first segment, the big news this week.
All right.
And now, the news.
All right, this first story comes to us from securityboulevard.com. Imperva report, a third of vulnerabilities lack a fix. And I'm assuming that just means that Imperva doesn't have a fix for them, right?
You know, when I saw the headline, my first thought was, I wonder if their breach was caused by one of these.
It just had nothing to do.
Because they leaked data twice last year, but I know one of them was because they had like misconfigured a server. So I don't know that a WAF. Well, I suppose a WAF could have. Well, no, a WAF really wouldn't have. If you have exposed a server, it's probably not behind the WAF anyway.
Right, because you're saying, I want to connect to this from here to there.
Yeah, I guess it's a learning lesson. Here's what a WAF won't protect.
Maybe if it was API accessible, then it could have been a WAF, but I don't think so either.
You know, actually, Chris, you might be able to answer this for me because I've often wondered about this. Like, I totally understand how a WAF protects a web server, right? That there's HTTP posts and gets and things like that you can interpret and determine whether that's legitimate access. But when you have an API, people are writing their own API routes, their interfaces, their sockets, you know, and all that stuff. You know, maybe it's tokenized authentication, might not be using HTTP at all. How does a WAF even protect something like that?
Yeah, it's a good question, and that's because what the WAF, what the more modern solutions will do is obviously being able to terminate those other underlying protocols. Right now, the other thing to remember is that most APIs are underlying based upon HTTPS, right? Be it a GraphQL, be it a REST-based interface, and so some of that from the underlying transport is less complicated. But where it gets complicated is the fact that what's the payload? The payload's JSON, right? And so you actually need to build in intelligence to now evaluate that JSON request.
You know how we could have fixed all these? Just use SOAP, XML, all the way. We'd have never had any of these problems. Uh-oh, she rolled her eyes. Yeah. I got it. Do I win a cookie?
Because I tried to implement it once too. It's all
Yeah.
Justin, you are not the government, okay?
I know. So I'm going to go gRPC all the way. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So are we saying that that these vulnerabilities are just so advanced, or that we just haven't caught up with them yet, and that's why that there aren't fixes for these? I mean, where's the disconnect? Why is this? Why are a third of them still unfixable?
Actually, I can jump in here, guys.
Please.
Just first of all, think about all the open source that's out there today, right? And let's just look at all the infrastructure that's out there for CMS-like systems. WordPress is one of them. There's a lot of open source tools and plugins that are being created today, and there's really little governance in terms of making sure that they're well developed from an AppSec process perspective. And so they're out there, and then now you got the development teams consuming them. And one of the challenges I think we have today is that the development teams, it's rough to actually easily integrate AppSec, shift left type practices into their processes, right? So they don't do anything. So it's really a couple of those reasons that we see this high rate. I think the main reason is because there's just more code out there.
Yeah, and to give you guys some numbers here, and of course we'll post the link to this this article in the YouTube description, but the dominant category for this year for vulnerabilities were those that included some form of injection, accounting for 28% of the total they found in 2019, up 21% last year. So we're seeing some change.
A1 on the OWASP top 10 injection attacks.
Well, there you go.
So I should quit writing evals in all my code?
Yeah.
And, one way we defend against those is sanitizing input, right?
Yeah.
So you don't let people send special characters in when they're filling out a form. And if you're using like an open source CRM or something like that, that a vulnerability's been found, one of the fields wasn't validated right, you submit a ticket, and eventually they get around to fixing it, right? But if they don't fix it right away, if you have a development team, I guess you could try and fix it yourself, right? But if you don't have a development team, now you've got a unpatched vulnerability. And I don't know if ThreatX does this, but I know some of the WAFs will do inline patching, where they receive the request in transit and actually sanitize the input for you, or invalidate or block it or whatever, so that it never even gets to the software. So your software might not be patched, but you're still protected even though that software wasn't updated. And maybe, Chris, can you clarify on how ThreatX does that, or does it do
Yeah, and that's it's interesting you mentioned that, Don. That's a really important use case. So let me start with a little story. So I joined ThreatX a little over a year ago, and in early February or February 2019, a pretty critical Drupal vulnerability came out. It was a remote code execution against version 8. And there were proof of concepts out there already. So we, of course, were notified. And yes, we do validate to make sure that our behaviors can detect it. And if it can't for some reason, we will virtually patch immediately. But what was the most interesting thing is within the first 24 hours, every single one of our Drupal customers had an attempted attack. So what does that tell you? You better virtual patch, or you better do something. And that, for someone like myself who comes from the software development community, I was shocked. I was like, wow, that is really fast. I've run a lot of security organizations, and I didn't appreciate how fast these sort of vulnerabilities get exploited.
My takeaway there was just don't go on the internet.
So it was funny. I was going to say, you know how you fix WordPress issues? You install Drupal, but you just proved it. So.
It was bad. Well, Justin, you said something to me a few weeks ago where you said before you came to work over at IT Pro TV that you didn't really think about security much. And now that you've done some of the security courses with Daniel, like, you're paranoid to write code.
Yeah, I'm like, you can't break code that I don't write, so there we go.
And so, if that's the case, if you've got a team of developers, let's look at it from a different perspective. So like me as a business owner. So for me, I employ developers. And I assume they write secure code, but I'm not a developer, so it's not like I can go and review it myself to be sure, and I certainly don't have time to do it. So, the WAF at that point acts as that like constant auditor, that they can write bad code, and if the WAF fixes it, I'm okay with the bad code.
but at the same time, Don, I would argue that you take a different stance on it than some organizations that I've worked in. Security, we'll worry about that later. Right. Well, let's just get it done. Let's move forward, move fast.
Features first.
Yeah. It's good. I'm like, but there's exec statements everywhere.
Perfect, right?
Yeah, I hate that phrase.
So I think having someone who's kind of driving the vision, being security focused, will help developers, if nothing else. Because I definitely worked in environments where like, just get it done. I'm like, I did it, but it's probably bad.
Well, and we kind of figured out as we went through the OWASP Top 10 and creating that course, was that there's just an underlying fundamental philosophy that you need to adopt as an IT worker. One, if you're developing code, you never, ever, 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 ever trust user input.
Ever.
It's ever.
Right.
Did I mention ever?
Never.
Yeah.
That was like half of the OWASP Top 10. We're just
We are
basically
the
come down to
problem.
that.
Well, really, it's input in general, right? Because if we're talking about an API, it's not necessarily humans doing the input. You could have bad apps. You could have all sorts of stuff.
So we've got a lot more news to get to, and a lot more security news, actually. But let's take a quick break. We're going to come right back here on Technado with Don Pizzette right after this.
Welcome to IT Pro TV, an e-learning company with thousands of hours of engaging video training for IT professionals, with fresh content added daily. What makes IT Pro TV stand out? It all starts with our edutainers, who create better than classroom experiences for training you look forward to watching.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for IT Pro TV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
The dashboard's great because you can pick up right where you left off, you can see new courses that are available, and you also have access to a variety of study tools with a membership.
Follow along with virtual labs and test your skills with practice tests. And unlike traditional training, you aren't handcuffed to your desk. Sure, you can watch from there or from your couch with Apple TV and Roku apps, or from anywhere with mobile apps. The training is even available for download. If you're ready to watch and learn with the IT pros, check out the flexible membership choices online today at www.itpro.tv.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. We got a lot of news to get to. We have our guest joining us as well. We have Chris Brazdziunas, all the way from Colorado, and ThreatX on the line with us today. There she is. Well, let's go ahead and get to this story, which just confuses me from a medical perspective completely. Can you get... Oh, I'm sorry. This is from Tom's Hardware. Can you get coronavirus from a package shipped from China? Many PC components and electronics are shipped directly from China. Boy, oh boy.
You may as well just open mouth tongue kiss the guy that put it in the box, right?
I mean, I always do think about it every time I pop the bubble wrap. I'm like, oh, that's Chinese air. That's a little bit of Beijing.
Well, so every time I get a new stick of RAM, I definitely lick right up the side. That's how I know if it's good.
So I'm assuming, based on my understanding of science, no.
So it's actually not completely no. It's not absolutely out of the question, but
if they overnight it to me, then yeah.
Actually, the article says even overnight, it's very unlikely.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
good.
bacteria, viruses, they usually don't stay on inanimate objects, right? Because that's not their goal. Like they need food, sustenance, whatever. So they're typically going to stay on organic, living things. And
So the animals I buy from China.
Sure. Yeah.
All those parakeets you're
Yeah,
smuggling.
that's bad.
But when we
Eat the
hear
seeds.
we hear headlines come out that say things like the new iPad from Apple might be delayed because of coronavirus fears, right?
Well, that's because of the workforce, right?
Right, but they don't always say that in the
Okay.
articles, and so people start to think, right, and think crazy.
Like, what
thoughts.
about my iPad?
Yeah,
There's 4 of them on this table.
And when you go to the store, like, what percentage of goods are made in China?
All? Percent?
Yeah, practically
I was
all
going
of
to
them.
say all.
So if you're worried about coronavirus, then all of a sudden this fear is there, and all of a sudden we stop buying equipment, right?
So something that has bothered me a great deal in the news is like, don't get me wrong, this has the capacity of being like horrible pandemic, that type thing. But someone asked me, they're like, oh, I might get it. Am I going to get sick? I was like, yeah, it's killed people.
Yeah.
People have died.
Mhm.
They were elderly people, just like the flu. It was like 100 people. If you look at how many people the flu kills, it's like 60,000 people a year in the United
I'm
States
like
alone.
2,000 deaths.
Yeah. So, but still.
Still. Yeah, I mean,
Don't get me wrong.
China.
I feel bad for any of those individuals.
That's the loss. But
Yeah.
Chris, does ThreatX protects us from coronavirus?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to protect some of our events upcoming by no longer handshaking or hugging anybody. It's time for the fist bump.
Yeah. Full body, like hazmat suits.
Hey, they've got a perfect record. No servers
That's
protected
right.
by ThreatX have contracted coronavirus.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
So you know
should
what?
be
That
proud
should
of
be
that.
like a landing page statistic.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. The only thing that made me think, oh no, this, maybe there is something to this is I remember there's a story that came out about it could be transferred through the pipes at some buildings or something where people were quarantined. And I mean, I guess
It could.
it can.
Some guys just
Oh,
born
sorry.
coronavirus.
There for a second, I was like, are people like blowing back into the water fountains? So they're like, I got it.
So
No, I think they're passing up. They're using the same pipe.
Oh.
No, I don't. think
I'm thankful that we have organizations like the WHO that are trying to contain these outbreaks, but at the same time we have the media that blows these things a little bit out of proportion. Because if you look back at SARS and bird flu and my favorite,
Swine flu.
remember in the Olympics, the Zika virus?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah,
if you go
everybody
to the
dead.
Olympics, you're dead.
I mean, you got to be a pregnant woman.
I mean, I was like, now, I was worried. Like, am I pregnant? Like,
Yeah.
that's how scared I was.
Yep. But in the IT world, if you just bought a server, cell phone, other equipment, it's shipped from China, you're going to
it
be
with
fine.
Lysol.
And don't lick it.
It's not going to have any more germs than it normally does.
Yeah, normal rules apply. Don't lick your new hardware.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's RAM, and that's how you check to see if it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, 9-volt batteries. I
tip.
lick those.
That's how you know they're charged, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
Exactly.
Light me up.
That is fun.
What's our next article, Pete?
Yeah, let's get to that. Our next article is from Threat.com. GitHub launches new command line experience. And I mean, Justin, this has got to be exciting for you, huh?
Yeah.
All right, our
so
next article.
when I first read this, so like somewhere in the article it goes, this is not a replacement for Git. So this command line experience is about issues and pull requests, like being able to manage issues and pull requests from the command line, which is kind of cumbersome if you're used to using all the other Git tool chains. You have to go over to the GitHub site and do anything. I haven't got to play with this very much, but it does say at the very end of the article that this is the beginning point for further developing this tool. So I'm wondering if we're not getting rid of Git, but we're trying to make it a little nicer of an experience. Hopefully, so some of those open source things where I go to projects and I go, oh, this open issue's been open for 4 years. That's weird. And no one has commented. I should probably not use this. Maybe this will entice some of those individuals to address those issues or review pull requests.
Can I put a nasty pessimist spin on this one?
That's what you do.
Don, I expect nothing less from you.
I mean, you've already ruined him from coding.
Yeah.
Satya Nadella, right, has done a phenomenal job as CEO of Microsoft. He's embraced a lot of technologies, a lot of things have open sourced, right? Microsoft acquired GitHub. Mm-hmm. And one of the nice things, the things that I appreciated about GitHub was that it followed the Git standard. I could use the Git command line and I could pull and push code from there, from GitLab, from my own hosted Git repositories, no big deal. Well, now they're releasing a new command line. And this is the GitHub command line, not GitLab, not your own Git. Like this is GitHub specifically. And so if we start seeing development and advancement in this command line that is separate from the mainstream open source Git command that Linus Torvalds controls, now are we going to break compatibility? Is this going to become the next SourceForge?
But to some, I hope not. Oh, man, I'm breaking out into a
go off there.
I'm
Chris, does
lightheaded.
ThreatX protect us from GitHub?
From an API perspective, hopefully.
Can you protect us from ourselves?
So, like pull requests themselves, like that seems to be something that these systems have put into place. It wasn't how the original Git tool chain behaved. So, like if all of us were working, we would just be using each other's repositories or self-hosting. By the way, I hate the name pull request. It's very confusing.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if maybe this leads to maybe GitLab. So GitLab's its own company. Do they develop a similar experience? Like maybe instead of your pessimistic view, we take a more optimistic view and find that by increasing developer experience within these, we get better, more robust software that is addressed more quickly if any issues kind of crop up. I doubt that's going to happen, but I'm being hopeful.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Yeah, and lies.
Another.
Guys, I had a bit of a different spin on this. Is that for me, first of all, GitHub's had a command line interface. It's an open source project called Hub. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of been there for a while. So I'm like, okay, so that tells me Microsoft is embracing it. So they're getting more Linuxy, getting away from that, Windows UI based stuff, which for someone like myself who started my career in Unix and Linux, it's a positive thing. So I kind of saw them saying, hey, they're seeing the light, and Nadella continues to do a great job. So
quick aside note, I think we need to have a little scoreboard for every time Don talks about Satya Nadella. Because I'm pretty sure the last 4 podcasts you've at least one time. I'm just going to go.
He kisses that photograph every night before he goes to bed.
I have to give him credit. But yeah, the Hub project I'm a very minimalist when it comes to things like that, so I usually don't use tools like that. But
that's because you can't have nice things.
I can't. That's because I'm paranoid. I'm like, this is a security concern. Throw it out.
Nice things have been ruined for you. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's all right.
That's got to be tough.
You sound really upset.
No,
thanks for your compassion.
I do. I'm sorry. All right. Next over at Krebs on security, our next article, dangerousdomaincorp.com goes up for sale. And I got to be honest, I read this one and I'm just confused. Is this kind of like the putting null on your license plate? Is there something I'm not getting?
Yeah.
Well, there normally is, but specifically
So if it makes you feel any better, Peter, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Anyway, next. But it's just because it's a 4-letter domain, right? And these end up having a lot lot of traffic and some sway.
In this case, it's actually a problem because of something Microsoft did 20 years ago.
Oh, and so there's more to it.
Actually, a little more than 20 years ago.
So before Satya Nadella.
Yeah. Well,
he was alive.
Well, sure. But
so this is Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates in this one.
Yeah.
So back in the NT4 days, which Windows NT4 came out in 1997, and it had domains, right? And those domains continued to evolve. In Windows 2000, you got the Active Directory, and we still run the Active Directory today, right? So that's why this problem is still current. Well, in the early days, the original documentation from Microsoft suggested that, hey, when you name your domain, you got to give it a name. And back then, you couldn't change the domain name. So it was an important decision. And Microsoft knew that companies change names, acquisitions happen, and so they encourage people to use a generic name like Corp, C-O-R-P.
It's like Acme.
Yeah. This is our corporate domain, so C-O-R-P. And many, I would say like half the domains that I touched back in the old days were called Corp or domain. There were plenty that were called domain, occasionally domain one. So Corp was common though. Well, with Windows 2000, they switched to using DNS. DNS required a top-level domain, right? And so Corp became corp.com. And so a lot of people were using corp.com for their internal network, but they didn't own it. And when I say a lot of people, like Microsoft had this in their own documentation that was coming out at the time, the old training manuals. Well, it's such a pain in the butt to change a domain name inside of the Active Directory that people just rode with it. And so you have people even today where their domain is still called corp.com. Well, that domain is up for sale. It's a real domain. Any .com is a real domain.
For $1.7 million.
Yeah. Those four-letter domains draw a hefty price.
By themselves, but one that's exploitable, right? Like if somebody is...
If I was writing malware, doing phishing campaigns, corp.com would be awesome.
And it gets traffic because of that. People, click on a user profile link or whatever, and it ends up taking them over to corp.com. Email gets sent there all the time because people have it as an extra email address attached to their accounts. There's all sorts of different things that can be done with it. So it's a dangerous one. You shouldn't, in your network, and I'm talking to the viewers out here because you guys, we all use the same network, but for the viewers out there, you should never use a domain name that you don't own, right? And even if you do own it, you should, if you stop using it, you kind of need to keep paying for it, especially if you're providing some kind of a cloud service or a service to your customers, because your customers might point back to it and then it's gone. So like in our show, like let's say I made up a domain right now and I said, DonsDiscountTire.com.
Oh, don't do that. Now I got to buy that.
Yeah.
Right. So
check it out.
And maybe I buy it now thinking, well, people see it maybe for a month and then I get rid of it. Well, somebody else could come and pick it up and now it gets traffic. Because
that was a rule I remember on NBC. I heard about it because I was watching Conan back then, and he set a domain one time, and then the next day he said, apparently we have a rule that now we had to buy that. So now we've gone and made this site, but just for those kind of problems.
That would have been great when he was trying to wreck NBC when he was going off the air.
Oh, yeah, just
because he was like airing football games and stuff. So all these songs, he bought a racehorse.
Well, and
my question is, why can't, there's a governing body here. Was it ICANN? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why can't they just say, oh, you know what? No, you bought that domain for $30 originally. We'll refund you your $30 and every year of it, and that domain is now off the books.
Because that creates a precedent, right? That they could revoke a name for no real good reason because Microsoft made a mistake, right?
Okay.
So,
so that's like indirect private business power. So you could shuffle the deck and go, well, I'm going to do this thing because I know ICANN's going to react in this way.
The mistake here was Microsoft's. Like they should never have used a domain in the documentation that they didn't own. And then the mistake was compounded by companies that also used a domain that they didn't own.
Yeah,
so
they listened to Microsoft.
In, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but like example.com, that's now for that purpose, right? Like who owns that? Do you know?
So I don't know who owns it, and I think it actually was owned by somebody else at one point, and they donated it back.
Yeah.
So that was
so like you can use it for like documentation or like, hey, test this out. Yeah. But yeah,
that happens sometimes. Like Ford Motor Company, they had a Class A subnet at one point, right? Which is just 16 million IP addresses, because they anticipated one day in the future, with every truck we sell, we'll give it an IP address. Right. And when the IPv4 address shortage started, they gave those back. They donated them back and said, hey, we actually don't need this, so you can have it. Right. Apple, on the other hand, who we normally talk really positive about, Apple has a Class A as well, didn't give it back because they don't want to. So different companies, different ways.
There you have it.
That's just rude. All right. Let's head over now to our next story from Gizmodo.com. Speaking of Apple, malware threats on Macs outpace Windows for the first time ever.
There's karma.
Yeah.
Hey, that's how you know you've made it, though, right?
Peter, what are you running?
Oh, crap.
Have you updated to the latest?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, I still ignore that thing every day that says install updates to my update. I mean, I just updated.
Yeah.
Come on.
We got time.
So I expected this to occur, but I didn't expect it to occur this soon, right? That for years and years, we've seen this for a long time, where Apple users will say things that aren't necessarily true. Like, do you remember when Windows first rolled out that thing where anytime you did a change that affected the system, it would pop up and say, like, do you want to make this change? The user access control, right? Apple put out a commercial making fun of that, where their cool Mac kid could do whatever he wanted, and then the Windows guy in the suit, every time he would try and do something, the pop-up would come up.
Yeah.
Well, 2 versions of Mac OS later, and they got the pop-up too, right? Because they recognize, oh, wait, we kind of need to do that.
I was so mad at those commercials when they had the one that said, well, you know what? I'm an Apple, and I don't get PC viruses.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, but they don't get Apple viruses.
Right.
It's kind of like, I'm a human. I don't get horse viruses.
It was,
So I'm better than you, horse.
That's right.
it
Except
was
the flu.
good marketing, right? Good marketing. But one of the big things that you'll hear is, I'm on a Mac, I don't need to run antivirus software, or I don't get viruses, which has never been true, right? But the thing is that Macs had a small percentage of the market share. So if you're going to write a virus, you're going for the big percentage of the market share. You're targeting, and I'm sure over at ThreatX, you guys see this, where people are going to target WordPress because it's all over the place. They're not going to target,
Joomla.
Don's, whatever. Joomla probably gets hit too.
Yeah. Drupal.
So, they're going to target the big market share. Well, Macs have been growing in market share quite a bit. I mean, they're still at like 6% or something. Well, no, actually, do they cross 10%?
I don't know. I'm kind of interested. What's your daily driver, Chris?
What? Oh, I have a Mac.
Well, Daniel, we got something to do when we get off there. Hey,
Colorado, you say, right?
Yeah. And so if you get an email from me, it's totally fine. Click all of them links.
I've got the script. It makes your computer run super fast.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sorry, guys, we're Slack first here.
I'll send you a Slack message.
yeah. Go ahead and send me an
It's gonna be a
invite.
link to that email.
Have there been any Slack?
Are you hiring? Because we're on Teams now, and I'd love to get back on Slack.
Bro, Teams
I
is
use
not
Teams,
that
I have
bad.
no comment.
Other than we have 4 generals.
Yeah.
I tried to send a GIF yesterday because I wanted to send the Turd Ferguson GIF from SNL Jeopardy,
yeah.
and no, there's nothing comes up when you type in turd. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Just download the Turd
I had
Ferguson
to.
gift.
I had to.
But it is
It's
kind of
2
annoying.
seconds.
It is kind
2
of.
seconds.
Google search, right click, download.
No, don't Google search that action.
Yeah, that might get
Google's
you in
got a
trouble.
weird.
Put yourself in the place of somebody in human resources and or management. A search for turd returning nothing is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. Hey, and
Employee retention?
don't Google naked guy armed to the hilt.
Yeah. It's not what you think it might be.
What I think it might be
So-
is terrible.
So no,
Apparently it's worse.
I feel like I have to tell the story. So there's this picture of this guy he's in his skivvies, but he's got like ammo belts on, and he's got a skullet. You
Yeah.
know what a skullet is?
No.
Bald on top.
Oh, it's
And
like
a
a
mullet on the back,
Okay.
right? So sadness up front, party in the back.
Okay.
I haven't heard this one.
I didn't know that either.
So he's like decked out. Well, we were trying to find that image to like make a point, and if you
we Googled it.
it
It did not go well.
What
No.
was the search term you used?
Naked guy armed to the hilt, obviously.
Naked guy under the hill.
yeah.
.com.
Yeah.
Oh, now
So-
we have to buy that.
That did not work.
No, we are not buying that. Somebody else can have it.
I know I did an interview on Paul Security Weekly, and they were pulling up some GIFs in Slack, and one they searched for was Alaskan Pipeline, because that was a news article. That's another one. Don't bother with that one.
We have gone off the rails.
Remember when you were buying the vest for your groomsmen?
Oh, geez. Yeah,
that
that's
was
a whole
great.
different story there.
That'll be on Don's Twitter.
Yeah.
for
So
that.
I got to send you a Slack message for you to get that email, or is that right?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Can I put viruses and stuff in Slack? I mean, I could send an exe or something, right? I mean,
Well,
she can't run that.
You know, the thing about server-based services like that is a lot of times they're doing inline scanning
they're
on their
watching it
side.
as it
Yeah,
comes in.
and I don't know how well Slack does it. I know Microsoft does it on the team side, obviously. So it's taken care of there. But, one of the things that Apple has done, and they've done a great job on, is that when a vulnerability or an exploit is out there and a virus or ransomware or something is taking advantage of it, Apple is super fast to create a fix, and they push it out in the regular updates. So for most people, they haven't needed to run antivirus on their Mac. Like that's been a true statement. Like I haven't really needed it. But now that it's ramping up, it's getting to be something where you need to be anticipating exploits before Apple has a chance to fix them. And that's where antivirus software comes in.
So Don, if I'm running OS 2, do I need to run an antivirus?
You absolutely do, because there are some very glaring unpatched exploits in that one, but unlikely to get hit.
It's true.
But the important thing is I need to click yes, install update.
I want to see a risk matrix for OS 2's vulnerability.
Back then, updates were like extremely manual, so I don't think.
No, I mean for now.
No,
today.
but he's the one he keeps ignoring.
Yeah. It gets in the way.
It does.
Security, that's a setting in macOS. If you go into your system preferences, you can tell it to automatically install security updates. Like you don't have to do the feature updates.
Yeah, but then it's going to just reboot at random times when I'm trying to play do the work.
It's also going to protect you at random times.
Yeah.
It's not my network. All right, let's head over to our last article at arstechnica.com.
Anymore.
Yeah, I'm following Parker out the door.
If you think IT security is inconvenient, try unemployment.
That is tough.
They are also insecure.
Yeah.
All right, the next article here. One of the most destructive botnets can now spread to nearby Wi-Fi networks. Emotets? Sophistication and reach continues to evolve. So is this basically
That was
saying
an
like
Egyptian god.
it's contagious like through the air?
No, so we were looking at the article. It was just like a good idea that somebody had like, hey, you know what? A lot of Wi-Fi is really insecure. We ought to just exploit that and see if we can't pass this virus via that method. So it now scans for wireless access points, looks at what kind of encryption that you are employing.
Or lack thereof.
And then has a couple of dictionary lists that it passes through to try to crack the pre-shared key, the PSK, and then if it does, then it's now on that network.
Well, luckily our building here is surrounded by dead spots. There's no Wi-Fi that...
No, that is true. But, take an environment like, the building Chris is in, right? Where we were talking about there's several other IT companies right there in her building. So Wi-Fi is going to bleed over, especially in a multi-story building.
Sure.
And so one person gets infected, and then the virus looks for the other wireless networks, finds them, and then just sits there brute forcing it until it guesses the password for the wireless SSID, right? And then once it's able to get there, it can start scanning that network and infecting it. So it effectively does spread through the air in order to reach out and infect machines. It's kind of a next step because it's not relying on the internet, not passing through a firewall at that point, right? It's just jumping from access point to access point.
So for some reason, all I can think is zombies. Right?
Kind of.
Yeah. So I feel like we're pretty good. We're fortified. But Chris, one person gets infected in your building, everybody's a zombie.
Board up those windows.
Yeah.
You got ThreatX on them
on them
access points.
Well, so this sounds like not just if you're using the default password and all that stuff, but you said it's going to use brute force and keep guessing. So I mean, even if you're secure, you're still vulnerable to this?
In its current form, they're using a dictionary. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see how many passwords were in the dictionary, but if you have a password outside of that dictionary, you're safe. Mm-hmm. But if they've compromised a machine, what do they care if it's consuming CPU, trying over and over and over again?
I can't spell, so...
Hey, what's funny is it all comes back to just basic security practice of use strong passwords.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
But sometimes it's difficult, especially with wireless networks, because the best solution is to do 802.1x, right? And WPA2 Enterprise, right, which is using certificates. But certificates are a pain in the butt to set up. Yeah. So people use a pre-shared key. And if you are handing out the pre-shared key to people, if you're posting it on the wall,
as much of a pain in the butt as having a data breach.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's how you have to evaluate it.
That's what we have to do, right? Like, yes, it's hard.
So for some reason, I'm thinking, what if I'm running a web server at my house, right? And all of my neighbors are using my Wi-Fi network, and my web server's an entry point, and my web server gets infected. Does that mean my neighbors are now infected?
If they're all using the same network, well, but potentially, right? Like if their machines are secure, then
well, I mean, if they're using my network, I doubt it.
Probably are.
Yeah.
I think there's numerous mistakes in that topology.
I don't doubt it. So if I am running a Raspberry Pi web server at my house, running Drupal,
on that?
Can I put ThreatX on that?
Drupal 7, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's in the cloud.
Well, guys, actually, let me add to your analogy there. I mean, think about all the IoT devices out there and how many TVs have default passwords.
Oh, true.
I'll clarify.
That's why I still use monochrome monitors at my house. Everything's green and scanning.
You think what Justin just said was an analogy? That's
yes,
setup.
That's actually Peter's house. I'm looking at it right now.
How's the dog?
Goodness.
Yeah, he's doing well.
I can be kind of sarcastic about this and say, for my husband, he would love it for maybe Emotet to go ahead and attack our TV so I can stop watching reality TV.
Yeah, is there a virus that can just shut down the housewives?
Which is the bigger bane, right?
She's just going to come home and see a hammer through the TV. Like, Emotet got it.
Yeah, this guy ran in. He said, "My name's Emotet. I beat the TV."
He had a
with-"
dog hat on.
I caught the Bachelor virus. Can't watch that.
I do have to ask though, what's your reality TV poison?
Oh my God, you guys said it. I do like The Bachelor.
I knew it.
Oh man,
Embarrassing.
you know
Another
what
one goes down.
I think. Can we go ahead and cut her off?
You get you get a nice Chardonnay, couple
Peter,
cubes
shut
of
up.
ice in there.
No.
Give her the rose. You horrible
Did you just say you ice your Chardonnay?
If I'm watching The Bachelor.
Oh, okay. Is it in a bag or do you go like?
No, I bring the whole box over to the couch.
It's next to Megan with
I'm talking about the
spray in her
ice, so
bag.
you can pull the melted ice out without diluting your Chardonnay.
No, not at all. Well, that was
puts more Chardonnay in.
that was a sad look into the lives of each of the people on the podcast today.
There was nothing sad about mine.
I just found out that Peter drinks a gallon of Chardonnay every night.
Yeah, Peter.
It's mostly ice. It's very watered down.
We love you, and we don't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah, those boxes come bigger than a gallon.
Are we about to have an intervention here on the podcast?
I feel like, I mean, we have
Megan's
a
gonna
bachelor
bust
watch.
in the door with her bag in her mouth. Listen, Peter, you got a problem.
If this is an intervention like the show, that means you've set up a vacation for me in like Palm Springs.
Yeah.
Actually, they are some pretty hoity-toity
I know. I'm
addiction
like,
centers. Isn't
let's
it?
do this.
Yeah. I have got a problem and I need help.
Yeah.
So I
Who's
don't-
got that duster?
I don't leave until I admit what my problem is. Okay.
Whatever you say it is, that's what
No,
it
I don't admit anything. I'm staying.
Yeah, you just admitted you watched The Bachelor.
I do not.
Yes, you did.
No. Okay.
is. So maybe.
I don't.
We'll have to go back and watch the tape.
Hey, we've got
He
some
never
webinars
watches
coming up over at IT Pro TV to let you know about. Our first one, or our next one, I should say, is how to train your end user running an efficient help desk. And that is going to be Joe Peacock talking about that on Thursday, February 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So definitely sign up for that. We've also got all the on-demand webinars that we've recently done. Reimagined Performance Monitor was last week. 10 Qualities of a Help Desk Pro. Are you ready for DAS?
DAS. That was a part two.
That was part two.
Well, there's a part one to that too, right?
It was called Are You Ready for DAS Part 1.
Oh, did we retroactively add to part one?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
We just knew.
If you erase, is it DASCAR?
That's some redneck humor. Anyway.
Yep. And also, while you're on that internet, head over to go.itpro.tv/Technado. We've got a 30% off coupon code for you there if you want to sign up for IT Pro TV and learn about all the fixes for all the things we talked about today that are broken.
Speaking of broken, I have to tell y'all, I had someone write to me that it should be Technado with Justin Dennison.
He did.
Yeah, because I'm the star.
All right. We'll have to A/B test it.
Yeah. So we're like, who's Justin Dennison?
Tell your mom we will think about it.
It would make sense, but my mom was like, that podcast is horrible.
Hey, Chris, if people want to find out more about ThreatX, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you know what? Come visit our website at ThreatX.com. That's easy to spell, and we'll happily initiate a conversation. And we'll also be at a number of events this winter, including RSA. So come see us, and I may not shake your hand, but I will fist bump you.
That's like next week, right? RSA?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's sneaking up on us. The time flies. So head over to their website at corp.com. And
So I'm glad I wasn't the only one thinking it. I was like, corp.com.
yeah, this ThreatX site, that sounds fake. What is the Lev Parnas guy? His company's like Fraud Incorporated or something.
What are you talking
You know,
about?
the Giuliani Association. Do you get the news?
Apparently
Not
I haven't heard
actively,
this one.
no.
All right, never mind. We'll talk about that later. All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for joining us today, and stay warm out there. It's 85 degrees here today in sunny Florida, and you're experiencing snow flurries. So
Awesome. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
it's dumping on the upper. What'd you say before?
She's getting no,
Hi, country.
It's a high country.
Dump it on the high country.
dumping on the high country.
Yeah.
We're children. I'm
That's
sorry.
going to become a thing.
Yeah. I got a T-shirt idea.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.